Hello there, Ray here, and today guys, I'd love to show you this new, easy 1.14 Obsidian farm using a new wither cage design as well. This farm is a automatic farm, meaning that it'll do all the hard work by itself. All you have to do is just AFK. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to go ahead and do it so you don't miss out on any new videos. Let's get into how the automatic Obsidian farm works. The way that it works is that it uses the Obsidian platform, which comes with the end dimension. Every time you come into end dimension, your player is placed on top of the Obsidian platform. And if there happen to be any pieces missing, the game will automatically try to regenerate the platform, and this will give us a source of obsidian to mine up. The way that we mine the obsidian is by using a wither. Wither has a block breaking ability where it can break blocks in a 3x3 area, 4 blocks tall around it, and it usually does this when it's damaged. To prevent the wither from flying around and destroying other things, we went ahead and designed a new type of wither cage for 1.14. Because it made a change to the way that withers act, as well as a lot of other mobs, essentially the wither needs to be able to see his target. And this also applies to other things like wolves, which need line of sight to attack things. So the wither's here, and he's trying to shoot at this chicken right over here. Because this chicken can be seen by him if you look from here, straight through this little hole, you'll see the wither's head right there. And his eyes are illustrated by this red line. And you can pull these up by pressing F3 plus B. Now to turn the wither cage on, all we have to do is flick this lever here. And that is going to block the wither from seeing the old chicken, which is back here. And we're going to put a new chicken in front of him. And what this does is stops the main head from shooting skulls and just makes it so the side heads are shooting skulls. Notice how the side head skulls are just hitting these blocks which are directly in front of them. And the black skulls cannot destroy stuff that is moderately blast resistant, such as like stone. I'll get into more detail about why this wither cage works later in the video. So for the obsidian platform to regenerate, we do need the player to be hopping through it each time. We can't use like items, we can't use any type of entities, we can't use any type of player pets either. So the farm is operated just by having the player walk around the obsidian platform to the exit end portal, which is normally in the center of your main end island. So if I go right over here and I go into survival mode, I am in hard difficulty. You see the wither is just fine. As long as I don't get too close to a blast there, I won't pick up any wither effect. If I get kind of close like this, I could pick up the wither effect. You can see I'm taking some damage from the explosion. So it's perfectly safe to be in here, and you'll spawn right here. And what you'll do is just hold down your W key while you're facing this direction. And what you're going to do first is walk across this platform, and all that did was throw a snowball out at the wither. And this is the way that we damage the wither so that he breaks the blocks around him. Then the player just continue on, climbing up this nice little stairs here. And these stairs are kind of short, so you don't get enderman spawns on them, or endermen don't walk into them to interrupt your walking from one platform to the exit end portal. Once you hop through here, you'll be placed at your bed, and have a bed set up so that when I come out of my bed, I'm placed inside of the entrance end portal, which is the end portal in the overworld. So if I hop through here, you'll see there was 2 joining world messages. So one was to send me to the overworld, and then that one immediately sent me back into the end dimension. So it's actually sent back into end dimension so quickly that it never unloaded either. So all these chunks are still loading. You notice the wither is still doing his same type of behavior where he's trying to shoot at the chickens. But now you see that the platform has been regenerated since I hopped through it. The hole is not there no more. And this causes a little thing to occur where you see the wither is actually trying to shoot off skulls, but they immediately explode as soon as they get summoned in. I showed you guys this trick way back in the 1.13 snapshots, and you can actually use it to kind of make a safe wither cage. I also use this in my wither rose farm to turn the wither off. So wither's just fine right now, and of course as soon as your player comes out, you'll be walking over again, you'll be walking over that pressure plate again, and that's going to damage him, and he's going to break those obsidian blocks around him and drop them as the block form. Then we have some hoppers underneath, which are just going to pick them up and put them into a chest. That's pretty much all there is to it. You're just going to be AFKing, walking in a circle. I'll show you guys the ways to AFK with buttons held down a little later in the video. I'll show you guys what the overworld looks like so you guys can see how to set up your bed. So we're here over in the overworld, and this is your entrance end portal. Have a little redstone around it, and essentially this will be found at your stronghold. And what I did is a similar setup to my last obsidian farm where I put in a bed right here in the corner of the entrance end portal. Then I blocked all the other places where if you come out of the bed, you'll land. So where these blocks are, where you normally would land, the game will try to find the lowest block that is around the bed to place you on. And that happens to be the block that is directly underneath of this entrance end portal. So you just make sure you put some blocks here so that when your player comes out of the bed, he'll be put directly inside of the portal. Now to avoid an infinite loop where you're never able to come back to the overworld, we need to set up a device that will stop the player from going into the end dimension after a certain amount of time. And that's what this piston here does. When this piston is extended, the arm of it is going to be blocking this location, so the bed will no longer place you here. And therefore, you'll get an invalid bed location, and then it'll set you back at your world spawn point. So what we got here is a clock. I just have an on-off switch for it. This is an observer clock here, and it's going into this dropper, which just drops items from here over into this container. So if I put anything in here, you see it's going to just drop it over into this one over here. And as soon as it reaches 0 items, then the piston will extend. So right now, this comparator is on, turn the torch off, it goes around to this piston, and then as soon as there's nothing there, it'll open up. And this will stop the player from coming over here to the overworld. So what you want to do is just put some items over on this side. I just put 4 items on this side. So if I just turn this off and I put in 4 items. As long as there's no one else in the area loading this, 4 items will last about 30 cycles through the end dimension. So 30 cycles of going through the portal into Overworld and back again. And each time you're going to get 9 Obsidian. And this is because the game's only loaded for like 1 game tick over here. Then you're immediately sent back over into the end dimension. So I'm just going to do maybe 2 items and see if I can get this started. So then what you would do to get started is after you built everything, you just flick this switch and then you hop into the portal pretty much at the same time, much as possible. And then you just start running your farm. Then after you go through the whole system a couple of times, this is what's going to happen. I'll show you guys. You'll hop through the end portal and you won't be set at your bed anymore. And essentially it'll tell you that your bed has been blocked. So it's going to stick you at your world spawn point, wherever the center of your world is, where you started it. And then you'll just have to make your way back to wherever you have your entrance end portal. Mine's right here. And then if you want to still use this without having to remove your bed, you can just make a new valid location. Now you can sleep in your bed, and then when you leave it, you'll be placed over here. And that way, when you're doing other things in your world and you happen to die, you're not sent directly into the end dimension. Some other choices are you can also destroy the bed or just sleep in a different bed, like at your base. I recommend when building this to just put this all into one chunk. You can show this by pressing F3 plus G. This is a chunk board around here. Because sometimes when you hop through the portal, it doesn't get time to load all the really far out chunks. And that way it will keep your little device loaded. Now you're in the end dimension and you can choose to keep the wither alive or you can kill it each time you're done. That's up to you. I'll talk more about that later in the video, but essentially I'll show you guys how to get the wither in place. You'll grab the world download, which I'll provide down in the description. Build everything up like it is here. Then you go ahead and just turn the wither on. I can even go into survival mode and show you guys this is possible. Put a little water on top of that slab there. And then you can just stand back here. You don't take too much damage. And he's going to blow up. And yeah, pretty much he is in the correct position. You can hit him with a snowball. And he'll do his block breaking thing, trying to destroy all the blocks around him. They don't destroy water now of 1.13. So you go ahead and pick that back up if you want to. So if you take a little break in the overworld before coming back to end dimension, you don't do like that instant respawning, then you notice the wither's main head is shooting a skull. It's kind of up there, you kind of see it hitting up high, and we don't want that main head to be shooting a skull because there's a small chance that the main head can shoot off a blue wither skull, and those are the ones that can pretty much destroy any block. So they would destroy these blocks here, like this ender chest and everything around here. Where the black skulls will hit them and just not break anything because the blast resistance is too high on this. Right there, you're just seeing him actually shoot a blue wither skull, and this is what happens. He's able to shoot directly through it. So you don't want that to happen. So when you do start him up or you come through the platform after taking a break, you do want to make sure to switch the target. So right now he is targeting this chicken back here with his main head as well as his side heads. So all you have to do is flick the switch and then that will switch it. So now the main head is looking at this chicken, but he's unable to shoot it because this trapdoor is in the way. And since he doesn't have a direct line of sight to shoot from his main head all the way back to this chicken, he's just not going to shoot at all. This is how we avoid the wither from shooting off blue wither skulls. You notice this main head is no longer shooting off a wither skull, and now the side heads are just shooting. So these side heads are trying to shoot at this chicken here, but they're just ended up hitting this wall in front of them. So if you notice him shooting with his main head, you can just switch it. So you can even switch it from like this position downwards. So if it would happen to leave the area for a little bit, the wither is going to reset and he's going to search around him looking for a target, and he's going to find this one. So then you just want to switch it. So by putting this chicken down, it would actually do the same thing. And you can build a little platform over here to flick that lever if you want to. Now the farm is completely ready. The entrance and portal is all set up that you did in the overworld. The wither here is set up. The wither's targets are set up. Everything is in position. Over here we just have a dispenser that has snowballs. You can just put a bunch of snowballs in some chests. And these are just going to be shot out at the wither to damage him every time you walk by it. This farm is relatively simple to build up. You see we don't got really much here. Just got a couple chickens. Wither, we just got some chests to collect the obsidian. There's also chests here to hold the snowballs. There's really not much redstone, a little bit of redstone over in the overworld that we did before we got here. I do have some walls around this platform. That's just to prevent the wither from seeing the enderman over there and trying to take them as a target. Now that only occurs when you start to farm up, or if you have left the area for quite a while. And that's what the lamps in here are used. The lamps just kind of light up this area so endermen don't spawn in here. The wither itself being held in using these cobble walls, which are 1.5 blocks tall. So they're essentially like having some slabs around the wither like this, except if the wither does his block breaking ability and you had slabs there, notice how the wither is able to destroy those. But these blocks, since they're underneath the wither, they're unable to destroy him, yet they kind of come up into this block and prevent him from walking forward. So he's unable to walk forward right now. And he can try to fly upwards, and that's what the boats are. We have a stack of 3 boats on top of his head. And right here in the corner, the boats are preventing him from flying upwards. You can see just barely, those 2 lines are overlapping. And that is actually all we need to keep the wither from flying upwards. And the boats can actually sit on its head, because when you come through the portal, it'll destroy all the blocks in the area. So we can't have any blocks in here, but we can have boats, which are entities, and that's going to prevent him from flying upwards. And these blocks underneath are underneath of area which it clears. So it puts in this obsidian platform in this 5x5 area, and then it goes up 3 blocks above the platform and also fill this all in with air. So notice all this here, we have no blocks inside of it, but we can have entities. And we do put your boats in, make sure that they're actually stuck inside of these walls. Otherwise, sometimes when you place a boat, it can clip inside of blocks. And then if it's inside of a block, then the wither will be able to push it through completely and it won't be holding him downwards. And the wither is trying to look through that little gap through the ender chest at these chickens. This chicken over here is sitting on top of a trapdoor, and this one is just sitting on top of a carpet. And I just used carpet because if it was a trapdoor there, then it would be powered by this lever when I flick it. And I just used chickens because they're pretty easy to get over here in the end dimension. Just bring some chicken eggs and then throw them out until you get a chicken. And this farm produces 9 obsidian each time you walk from this platform over into the exit end portal. Now the obsidian is being collected from these hoppers down below, and you can see that there are some items sitting on top of there, but those items will get pushed off next time you go through the portal. It's going to rejoin the obsidian around here, and that's going to push the items over and they'll fall into the hoppers. So you don't have to worry about those items that sit on top of like this block or these blocks over here. They'll eventually get pushed off. And this wither cage is 100% stable, so you don't have to worry about the wither accidentally escaping. Sometimes people don't think wither cages are stable, but those are also the same people that don't understand how wither cages work. I went ahead and tested this farm for 24 hours and it worked fine, and I tested this wither cage for an entire week and it did not have any problems with it whatsoever. And it's really nice to test these farms over a long period of time using a tick speed mod. And this is using fabric loader, so if I go tick warp, and then I can choose how long I want time to speed past. You can see everything occurs extremely fast. And notice how the wither is shooting tons of skulls, but none of them are making it to the chicken. Once in a while, wither will shoot 2 skulls, and 1 skull explosion will push the other skull over past the edge here, and then it'll just fly through the air, and it'll just keep going that way. But it'll never actually hit the chickens. But if you didn't want the skulls to kind of fly off into the distance, you can go ahead and build in the rest of this wall here. So long as you don't do anything unusual, the wither should not escape. So when it comes time to kill the wither and you want to remove it, all you have to do is attack the wither without him actually seeing you. So if you just put in a little pillar like this, and you go ahead and go down a little bit lower so you're underneath of the wither so you can attack him without him seeing you. Now if you don't want the boats to fall down, you can just put a block right here and this will prevent them from falling downwards. That way you can start the farm anytime you want to. Now if you just come down in here and you start to swing at the wither, notice that the wither is trying to kind of like turn towards you to attack you, but he can't see you so he won't shoot at you. So you can go ahead and slowly whack at him. You want to make sure to do it slowly, like every second. If you do it really fast, then he'll start shooting blue wither skulls, which will be able to destroy blocks around him. Now I just have a normal sword that has some breaking on it, but you can also use a smite sword which will allow you to kill it a little bit faster. So just make sure not to spam click when you're trying to kill this wither. Okay, the wither is about dead, and there you go. So yeah, you can kill the wither without any problems. You don't have to have your whole thing explode on you and the wither escape. So if you guys decide not to kill the wither and you go over into the end dimension, I'll show you guys what happens. The wither will try to target you, so the whole idea is just to walk forward and leave the area. Otherwise, yeah, you can see the skulls are trying to point towards me. See how the heads are trying to shoot at me, so if I walk away, he will find the other target. And he did actually shoot at me one time and he broke this pressure plate off. So if you do have a wither, you just want to make sure you keep walking that way so he can no longer see you. And then he will look for a new target and he'll find those chickens over there. And right now you can see how his middle head is going off again. So make sure you go ahead and switch it over. Just click that. And then that will fix that. And that way you don't have to worry about the main head shooting blue wither skulls and destroying these blocks in front of him. You only have to worry about this if you don't kill the wither or if you wait a long period of time before going back into the end dimension. Now the speed of this farm depends on how long it takes you to get from this point all the way to the exit end portal. So in this simple farm here, I'm just having the player walk from here straight forward and walk the entire distance. And I also have a beacon above the player, which is giving us speed. It takes about 15 seconds to make one loop with this beacon. Now this beacon is useful because if you are in hard mode, eventually you'll run out of hunger just from walking. And if you don't have any more hunger, you'll eventually take damage and eventually die. So it's important to have a regeneration beacon so that you do not die if you're playing on hard mode. And you don't need a speed beacon, but it'll just make you go a little bit faster. And if you want to go even faster yet, you can have it so that your player is holding the sprint button. You can see how fast I go. I'm even going much quicker. But sprinting uses hunger, so you need to keep up your hunger bar. So if you want to do that, you want to carry some food with you and also have it so you're automatically eating food. So that way you guys can auto eat as you're making this revolution around the whole thing. And if you want to resupply your player with food, you can always have a dropper down there where you have the dispenser that gives the player some more food every time you come by. Now the F3 plus T trick doesn't work when it comes to going between dimensions, so I'll just show you guys. I'm currently using it now to walk forward, and once I go into the portal, when I come back into end dimension, it's kind of reset all my keys, so my guy's not going to be able to walk forward. And you see I came back through the Obsidian platform, but my guy is not moving forward whatsoever. So you can't use that trick to automatically hold down the keys. That has to do between going through dimensions. It just won't remember those keys being held down. So you need to hold down a key that will constantly send updates. So just holding down the W key will actually work. So if you just put a weight on that, or you can switch your W key to something else like your space bar, and something that's a little easier to put a weight on that. So if I just have the space bar held down and I go through the portal, I don't have to repress it and I'll still constantly keep going forward. Because the spacebar is just constantly going to send updates, trying to make sure the player is using that key. So to keep your player constantly sprinting, you want to make sure that you also put weights on those keys as well. So you want to make sure there's a weight on your sprint key, otherwise when you come through again, it won't remember that you're sprinting. And you want to make sure you're automatically eating as well, so you don't want to have your eating, which is your use button, on your mouse. You want to make sure to switch it over to some kind of key and then put a weight on it. That way when you come through again, your guy will automatically eat. That's only if you want to sprint across this whole thing, which just makes it a little bit faster. Now you can choose alternative ways to transport the player from the Obsidian platform to the exit end portal. So you can use like a piston bolt, or you can use like a minecart elevator to transport you over here. But remember not to just use your right click mouse button, make sure to switch everything to a key. Otherwise your player won't hop into the minecart to use the piston bolt or the minecart elevator. And when you're running between these two distances, you want to make sure that the area is loaded. So it's 100 blocks between here and over there. So it's a little over 6 chunks. So you want to make sure your render distance isn't too short. Otherwise you won't have the wither loaded when you walk all the way over there. So I wouldn't recommend anything lower than a render distance of 10 when running this farm. Now sometimes you guys ask me how I switch over into like spectator mode or creative mode really fast. And you can do this just by, if you're in survival mode and you press F3 plus N, it's going to switch you into creative, and you press it again, it's going to switch over into spectator. And if you switch again, it's just going to switch you back to creative mode. And I actually have these keys macroed to my mouse, so I can just press it really fast. I also have a macro that will type out so I can go into survival mode. That's how I can easily switch between all 3 game modes when I'm doing my testing here. Now if you're running this on single player world, you can go ahead and just leave your wither there since you're the only one on your world. You don't have to worry about anybody messing it up. But if you're playing on a multiplayer server, it's best to warn people about you running Obsidian farm and go ahead and remove the wither once you're done. That way you don't have to worry about any problems occurring with other people. And if you are in a single player world and you're done using it, I would go ahead and remove the wither as well. That way if you accidentally load it, you wouldn't be here to flick this switch, and therefore the wither could shoot a blue wither skull and blow up these blocks, and then he would eventually shoot these chickens and kill them, and then he would get bored and start shooting stuff around here and escape. But if you're savvy, you can go ahead and put in a chunk loading detector and just detect when the chunk's loaded, and then just reset these chickens automatically. Now you want to avoid the Enderman coming in and messing up the farm, so whenever possible put down lights as well as slabs so the Endermen don't spawn over here, and they shouldn't try to teleport over here. Now this farm should work in versions of 1.13 as well as versions of 1.14, but I tested it in version 1.14.4 extensively. Now if you have any further questions about this farm, I'll try to answer them in the description of this video. And oftentimes if there is a consistent question about one of my videos, you will find more information in the description. When summoning the wither or even building this farm, I highly recommend using the world download and just practicing in summoning the wither before doing it in your survival world. That way when it comes to actually doing it in survival, you're able to do it without any hiccups. So it's a speed 2 beacon as well as sprint running across this here. Take about 12 seconds to make one loop. You'll get 9 obsidian each time, which means you'll get around 2,700 obsidian per hour. Obsidian is very useful in making like ender chests as well as beacons and also enchanting tables. And it's also used to make nether portals. So if you're making a large nether portal pigment farm, you'll need a lot of obsidian like we did on the ProtoTech server. I think we used like over 30,000 obsidian building that pigment portal farm. And this is how we got all of our obsidian from, a automatic AFK obsidian farm. And if you want to, you can expand upon this design to make it produce more obsidian per hour. Another way to speed up the farm is by having multiple players walk this path between the obsidian platform and the XN portal, because each player that walks through is going to regenerate the platform. So if you had 5 players doing this instead of just 1, it'd be 5 times as fast. But even with this simple setup here, you're able to get more obsidian than most people will ever be able to use. I had a lot of fun designing this up during our snapshot streams every Wednesday and Friday. And thanks to everyone who came on by and joined the stream. We even opened up the server so you guys could join the server as we design these type of farms. So if you guys ever want to learn how I design these farms from scratch upwards, or if you'd like to take part in the actual build of it, be sure to join our Twitch streams. Be sure to turn on the notification bell on YouTube. That way you get updates on the different things that we're working on during the stream. And also when we're designing cool farms like this, we come across different types of glitches in the game, such as last time designing this one, we came across that where you can fly in survival Minecraft without using elytra. And when you join the stream, you're able to be the first ones to see these glitches be discovered. Now if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to go ahead and give it a like, as well as share it with someone else that you think might enjoy this cool obsidian farm. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. I make tons of videos very similar to this one, all about vanilla survival Minecraft. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.